Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals publish to grow their businesses and to leave a legacy. We're doing a series of business spotlights on remarkable people, places, and things across the country and in your town. Joining me on this segment is Greg Montana. He's the founder of Heart Virtues. Greg, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mark. It's a privilege to be here. It's very exciting to hear from you.
Greg, please tell us about Heart Virtues and the types of folks that you help.
Well, a lot of people are familiar with like Simon Sinek's living in alignment with your why, right? But how do you identify that? For instance, people always say it's not what you say, but how you say it that matters. So what's defining this how, the why and the how of life? Like, why do I do what I do? And so Heart Virtues is kind of the core. It's the drive behind what we do. I'll give you an example. So Martin Luther King's how or why was brotherhood. Mother Teresa's why was compassion. Abraham Lincoln's why was unity, oneness. Every human being has a why that's driving them in life. Like, what do I do? What's the experience that I'm trying to create through success? Instead of just focusing on the outside parts of success, we focus on what is the inside out expression that's aching to be recognized and realized.
So it almost sounds like if they're discovering their essence of their why, it almost sounds easy, but you and I know that easy is often hard to spell. So what is it that makes it so difficult to discover that why?
It actually is very easy. It's because people are looking in the wrong place. So people are looking in a place that's like, okay, let me see what makes other people like me, or let me see what I can do to make a lot of money. Those are important. It's important to know what your value is. It's important to know how to be embraced by others. But the most important thing, and it's so easy to identify, what is it that gives you goosebumps? Now, here's what's funny. People will talk about this. What's your passion? But nobody really talks about how do you actually identify it? And it's very simple. If you keep track on a piece of paper of the books, the scenes from movies, the poems, the moments in your life, just keep a piece of paper on your car seat for a week. And every time you experience that goosebumps, like, yes, like a story on TV that gives you tears. This morning, my wife and I were watching about a woman who's a housekeeper, a cleaner for a business owner, and they gave her the penthouse suite for 2 years because she was going to have to move because she told them, I can't work here anymore. I want to keep working here, but I have to move because I can't afford to live where I'm living. So they gave her a penthouse, and my wife was crying. She was like, oh, this is so incredible that they would do this, right? Now, I thought it was touching, but that's not what really truly moved me. So if someone's heart virtue is liberation, you'll hear them say things like, I'm going out. Don't ask me when I'm coming back. I want to be free. Don't call me. And if someone's heart virtue is loyalty, they'll ask questions like, so who are you going out with and where are you going and when will you be back and what's going on, right? And it's funny that these two people tend to marry each other. But we find that the virtue is hidden in every bit of the context of language. So if we can take what gives us goosebumps, which is just an inventory, and it's a very simple, you can go online and go to heartvirtue.com and you just fill it in and it tells you what your heart virtues are. After you've done a little data research with yourself, what gives me goosebumps? What moves me to tears? What makes my hair stand up because it's so beautiful? It fills my chest with joy. And the second piece is what makes you enraged. So anger, a lot of people think anger, they just look at, again, they look at the content like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this. People shouldn't get enraged. Rage is actually the expression of the soul saying, no, I cannot stand for this. I cannot tolerate this, right? We've seen a lot lately of people that have behaved poorly because they're not willing to tolerate something. Riots and all kinds of really nasty behavior. But if you look at the lives of people like Martin Luther King and Abraham Lincoln and Gandhi and Mother Teresa, it's not that they fought for something, it's that they stood for something. So the work I do in helping people identify, if you have rage, what is it you're committed to that's being violated? That's the question to ask. Not, oh, I'm so sorry, I apologize, I shouldn't have been enraged. The question is, what am I committed to that's being violated? And how can I stand for what I'm committed to so that I don't feel like all of a sudden I've got to explode for what I'm committed to? So we help people identify what they're committed to and then live and speak in alignment with that. And what we find is that if people live in alignment from the inside out in context instead of just content, they have a far more fulfilling life.
Greg, you work with a lot of high achievers. Do these folks, when they reach out to you, do you find a commonality on what it is they're seeking? Do they consciously know what they need help with?
Well, that's why they come to see me, because they've bought into a program that's bankrupt. They bought into a program that leaves them spiritually empty. It's like, okay, I'm going to get all this because that's what they told me in college. I'm very suspicious of college. I got a college degree. I'm an engineer, studied quantum physics. I used to write artificial intelligence software when I was, early in life. And I got to a point where I was extremely successful. I had a lot of toys, boat, jet ski. I'm a pilot. I was about to buy a plane when I was like, my God, I'm spending all my time serving the toys. And then I had my breakdown where I was like, I want something similar, something similar to minimalism, which is going on today. I want something simpler, right? And so I actually checked out. I became a monk for about 8 years, and I was trying to really live in alignment with what is my ache, what is the expression in my soul and my body that's aching for expression. So the super achievers I work with are people they've hit a wall. They're just like, I've tried. It's like somehow they realize that making another $1 million or having the most famous people on the planet acknowledge them. People drop names all the time, people they've worked with. I'm like, okay, it's a form of currency. Fame is a form of currency. So is money a form of currency. But if you aren't living in alignment with what's most meaningful to you, and it's very simple, just being in service in the way that your virtues are fulfilled, then you're spiritually bankrupt. So what's the point of having all the other, forms of wealth, great friends and tons of money if you can't stand being with yourself?
Greg, you gave us a little sneak peek of your background and kind of what brought you to this place. I want to hear more. Like, what was your inspiration and what inspired you to master this area of your life and even further share it with others?
So during the years I was a monk, I decided there's got to be a way to live life so that you truly are fulfilled. And I started looking around and I said, there are these people that have done that. Now, how do we know this? Well, we make statues about them. We call them heroes. We admire them and they inspire us and they give us goosebumps. So some of the names I've mentioned, but you look at anybody that there's statues about. Why do we make statues about people? What is it about Oprah or Malala or these people that have done something incredibly beautiful? Gretchen, these people that are actually standing for something. They're so clear about where they stand. And so I started studying the lives of the people, the saints, the sages, the heroes throughout history. And because I have an engineering brain, I sort of noticed a pattern. What is it that these people are doing that other people aren't doing? If you listen to the Martin Luther King I Have a Dream speech, it's all about brotherhood. The speech just talks about how we're going to have, people of all races and colors living together, eating together, and if you listen to Mother Teresa, her language is it's just all about compassion. We've got to be compassionate for people. Why do we love Abraham Lincoln so much? Because he stood for unity and he died for it. He literally, when the country was being torn apart, what was so important to him that he was willing to have hundreds of thousands of people die? For what? And the answer was an experience of unity. And he had the opportunity to have peace at the expense of division. Let's just let them do this and we'll do that. And he said, no, unity is too important to me. So when I did this research, I started looking at saints and sages and the 12 apostles and I discovered that every single one of them, if you just looked at their life and you identified what was that virtue, the virtue that was aching for expression in their heart from the inside out, and you could identify that, it defined all of what they did. It defined the reason for the statues. It defined their program and their what they were campaigning for. It just all came together. And then I started to ask, well, how can we know our virtue? So speaking with the monks in the monastery, I would start asking questions about what was most meaningful, which the very core of which was what gives you goosebumps. And then I stumbled on this thing because so many people were dealing with rage and anger and how could they do this and how could they do that? And there was something very suspicious to me, like anger and rage. We've always, said, no, you can't do that. That's unacceptable socially. But when people stood for something powerfully and refused to back down, we were like, yes, that's the way I want to be in life. So this intolerance of knowing where you stand and saying, no, you can't sway me. I know where I stand. I'm going to stand for this. I'm not going to fight for it, but I'm going to stand for it. That's where these two came together, the goosebumps and the rage. And when we take an inventory of those, just like you'd write down the moments that give you goosebumps and move you to tears, write down the moments when you were so enraged you actually hit someone or smashed something, or literally couldn't stand still and had to either leave the room or stand up and say something. These are times when your soul is saying, I will not just sit here, even though you want to be comfortable around everybody. I've got to say something. And we find a lot of times people apologize for this instead of taking the next step and finding out, what am I committed to that's so meaningful I can't stop myself in these situations, and then training themselves to express beautifully and powerfully, this is what I'm committed to, and this is the experience and the expression I want for my life.
Absolutely fascinating and powerful and impactful. I can sense it. Greg, for folks listening right now that would love to get more into your work and connect with you, how do they find you?
Well, I just like for people, I don't want any barriers between people identifying their own personal heart virtue. So if you just take a few minutes and think, and write down, if you can get just 3 or 4 moments that give you goosebumps and 3 or 4 moments that make you enraged, and you go to heartvirtue.com, there's a place, it's right there. You just click on it. There's nothing to pay for. We just need your email address to send you the results. But it's not like I send you a bunch of emails. In fact, I don't think we send out anything except a follow-up email that says, here's your heart virtue, and here's what you can do next. It just gives them a couple ideas. If they want more, they'll ask me. They'll call. My phone number is available. It's on the website. So at heartvirtue.com, take the heart virtue assessment to know your heart virtues. And what's really cool, after you go through this process, just ask yourself, is this why I'm having trouble with my spouse? Is this why I'm having trouble with my friends or my family? Is this what is got me holding grudges? Or is this the thing that has been the core experience of my life that's been aching for expression? And what we find is that people really get it, that the heart virtue is defining their values, beliefs, and behaviors in everything they do. So I just love seeing people get in attunement with that, get in alignment with it, find out what it is, discover it, and then see the incredible benefits of, like, wow, now I know why I'm doing these crazy things. Why do I go into a rage, or why am I so passionate about this particular goal?
This is terrific, Greg. I really enjoyed our segment together here. I appreciate you taking the time and sharing with my audience, and I wish you continued success for you, for Heart Virtues, and for all of your clients.
Well, thanks for giving me a platform for what I'm passionate about.
Greg Montana, founder of Heart Virtues. This segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals publish to grow their businesses and to leave a legacy. That's all for this episode. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for tuning in.